Welcome to Backstreet Hot Takes brought to you by thereadersblock.com. Today we have some crazy things to cover, including the murderous mom out of Baltimore, Maryland. You got to stick around for that one. She says she killed her daughter because the girl was having sex with her children's father. And then you have ICE. They are raiding schools in Chicago and everywhere else. And Mark Zuckerberg might have been the reason that TikTok got canceled. And also, we got to talk about the Chicago man who was looking for his long lost mother, and he found her in a place that he goes to every single day. Let's get to it. This story is coming straight out of Baltimore, Maryland, where a mother says she killed her 11-year-old daughter for quote unquote having sexual relations with the father of her other three children. This was a wild story. So, Baltimore mother Kiana Dillon, who's 34, faces first degree murder charges after allegedly using a household cleaning tool to strangle her daughter on the morning of January 23rd after killing the family pets the day before. This is what happened. On January 23rd, Baltimore, Maryland police arrived at the home of Kiana Dillon in the 2000 block of Firethorn Road in Middle River after receiving a phone call about a cardiac arrest. Dillon went to her neighbor's home earlier and had told them that she needed to make a phone call about her daughter. And when the police got there, she told them that her daughter had died of cardiac arrest and that she was dead somewhere in the basement. The police went to the basement and they found the body of the 11-year-old girl who was London. And what they found was that the girl had ligature marks around her neck, and those ligature marks matched whatever cleaning tool was next to her on the floor, which seemed to have some kind of spikes in it. The crazy thing about this was that the mother kept making erratic statements throughout the whole thing. She tried to defend herself in court as her own lawyer, all type of stuff. The judge has ordered that she get some kind of mental evaluation. And originally, I got this story from foxbaltimore.com. That's where I read it at. But it seems like the 11-year-old girl was a very well liked girl in the neighborhood. The neighborhood did, they had some kind of get together and they wanted to remember this girl for the smiles that she gave them and the love that she brought the community. It's strange that this woman, her mother, did this to her. I mean, she actually used some kind of cleaning tool to strangle her daughter and accused her daughter of having sex with some man, her kid's father. And it's a ridiculous accusation. And unfortunately, this young girl lost her life. But mind you, the police had been to this lady's house earlier in the day. They had some kind of warrant for her, and they said that they weren't able to serve it because of some other reasons. She had made some videos. She went live a few times talking about the police was looking for her. She was accusing people of trying to come for her daughter, and she was threatening to kill people over her daughter. And the ironic thing was that she actually ended up being the one to do this to her child. And her neighbors said that they always knew that she was off, but they didn't think that she would go this far because London was such a liked girl. But they did say that they thought it was something wrong with this woman. And she apparently displayed this enough in court that the judge held her without bond and then decided that she needed a mental evaluation. And it's crazy. And my main question is this though. What is going on with CPS, Children's Protective Services, or whatever it's called, wherever it's at? Where I'm in Illinois, they call it DCFS, and DCFS is not the best organization in the world either, but they at least apply some kind of pressure when they know that it's a child that could possibly be in danger. But I guess CPS didn't know anything about this. They didn't have a chance to react, maybe, but the police definitely should have served that warrant. If they had already been there earlier that day, it's unclear, but it seems like they tried to make contact with her earlier that day, or they had made contact with her earlier that day, but they said that they couldn't enforce whatever warrant or take her for some reason or another. But if they would have took her, they would have saved that girl's life, at least temporarily, long enough for maybe her mother to get her mind together because it seems like she was losing it. And to accuse that little girl of doing something like that, like she's a grown woman just going behind her back, sleeping with her man because she wants to do it, if that was the case, that's wow. The police have already said that an investigation and an examination of the girl's body determined that no sexual assault had happened. So that's the thing to keep in mind, that the woman was out of her damn mind. The girl hadn't done what she said she did, according to the police. And even if that had happened, she would have been a victim. She wouldn't have been some kind of perpetrator in the situation. Anything an adult male does to her is something that adult male chose to do, and he's the criminal, not her, if that had ever happened. That's the story with that. I'll update you all as the information rolls in. Keep your eye on it. Like I said, happening fresh out of Baltimore, Maryland. In case you missed it, Donald Trump has sent in ICE to do what they do. Particularly, ICE has picked up over 500 people as of yesterday. But the primary thing is that they're going into schools as well. I read a couple newspapers, and according to CPS, the Chicago Public Schools, ICE tried to come inside of the school and they denied them entry. It looks like they came to the school particularly to do some kind of immigration raid, but the FBI said that's not why they were there. Also, the attempted raid took place at Hamlin Elementary on the southwest side of Chicago. The grammar school itself is 92% Latinx. I don't know what immigration or the FBI or whoever wanted there, but in Chicago, this is a sanctuary city, and the CPS is a safe space for immigrants, undocumented and documented alike. If you are having trouble with ICE, if they come to your door, you do not have to answer the door. That's the most important thing to remember. But also remember that public institutions like Chicago Public Schools are safe havens for immigrants, undocumented and documented alike. All right, moving right along to TikTok. If you've been watching recently, last week or so, it was canceled, but then it was uncanceled, and the quickest canceling and uncanceling I've ever seen in my life. But it all had to do with Donald Trump. But it also had something to do with Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg went on a lobbying spree in 2016 all the way up to 2024, burning millions of dollars in an effort to get TikTok banned. In a disclosure released by Meta not too long ago, the company noted that it had lobbied Congress and the White House on quote unquote homeland security and had quote unquote discussions regarding encryption and platform integrity. Meta disclosed that the company had not mentioned TikTok by name, but that it had made some allegations along the lines of security threats by other general social media platforms. Mark Zuckerberg didn't go in there with his lobbyists and his team and say, we want you specifically to ban TikTok. They went in there and they had a plan. They generalized it, but everybody had a wink and a nod basically to know what was happening and who they were talking about. So some gonna say that Donald Trump was the one who originally suggested banning TikTok in 2020, which he did do that, but that was not before Mark Zuckerberg, who tried to kill TikTok in 2016. There is an article called Before Zuckerberg Tried to Kill TikTok, He Wanted to Own It. And it was written in 2019 by a reporter named Ryan Mack. And this article tells you something totally different. But we are in 2025. Mind you, this article written by Ryan Mack was released all the way back in 2019. And he was talking about 2016. Now, TikTok had two options. They could either sell or they had to get out of the country. Go back and look at what Congress asked of TikTok and the CEOs. TikTok basically had two options: shut down operations here in America or sell to an American. And TikTok didn't want to do either of those things. But the point of that is, those are the things that Mark Zuckerberg wanted. He either wanted the company to be shut down completely in America, or he wanted to buy it so that he didn't have competition, but he had the money and influence that came along with owning TikTok. This is troubling for a bunch of different reasons, but primarily, do you want a billionaire dictating whether or not you have access to certain apps because they are terrified of competition? You don't want to ever, as a user of any app or device, have limitations placed on you solely because the billionaires that have absolutely nothing to do with the app that you're using or device that you're using, they're uncomfortable with the competition that comes with it. And then on this Mark Zuckerberg thing, he's been acting weird lately anyway. I saw him and he had like a black t-shirt with a very little gold chain, a very thin gold chain with a small medallion on it. And he looked very weird, but This was also at the same time when he was announcing that he was rolling back DEI efforts, but also rolling back fact checking and things of that nature. But the point I'm making is that Mark Zuckerberg has been moving real weird lately. He's trying to act like he's fitting in with everybody, wearing these plain black t-shirts that cost maybe $80 for him, and then acting like he's one of the people, but really he's not. He is a billionaire who wants nothing to do with the people who are actually on the ground. He just wants their money and to be able to control them and have influence over them. But yeah, so that's what Mark Zuckerberg has going on. He is the reason that TikTok was canceled in the first place. Go look up the receipts yourself. Here's a feel good story on the south side of Chicago. Imagine that you are a regular customer at a restaurant for 10 years. Come to find out, the woman you've been buying all of your sweets from is your mother. This really happened on the south side of Chicago. So it involved a man named Vamar Hunter, and his mother is Lenore Lindsay. And she owns the bakery called Give Me Some Sugar. So as I know that previously, Vamar had been going here to this place, to this bakery for about 10 years. Now, during this time, he had been working with a genealogist trying to locate his mother. He was adopted, and the way he found this out was that his mother, adoptive mother, brought it up randomly to him. Like, remember the time I told you were adopted? And this took him by shock. So he immediately wanted to know who his mother was. Out of the blue, one day, Lenore Lindsay receives a phone call and she answers, and it's somebody telling her to call her son. Now, she hung up. She was hesitant. It had been 50 years since she'd seen her son giving birth to him, or whatever the case was. And so she decided that she would give him a call, but not from her personal cell phone. She ended up calling from the bakery itself. And Vamar picked up and he couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was asking her, like, you know who this is, right? Basically. And then come to find out, she is his mother and he is her son. It had been 50 years. But Lenore had a difficult story to tell. At the age of 17, she became pregnant and she felt that she had disappointed her parents. She didn't know what else to do, so her best move to her was to give the baby up for adoption to make her life less complicated. But finding out she had her son actually within her life all of this time, they were able to build a bond. And just so happened she had been battling cancer during this time. So Vermar stood up and decided that he would take over the restaurant or the bakery in her place. And he did a good job because she gave him the keys to run the place full time. She's retired now. Think about that. She did not want to sell her business or give it up or lose it. And her son stepped up after knowing her all of this time, but not even knowing she was his mother. And just knowing she was his mother for maybe a few weeks, few months, decided that he would take on the burden of running this restaurant. And for me, I think that's a beautiful story. And it's a mother and son coming together after all of these years and building a relationship, a bond that they should have had a long time ago, but circumstances didn't allow it. And I'm glad that they were able to get together and be a family now and get to know each other beyond just buying things from each other and having a transactional relationship. Other than that, that's a very good story. That's the type of story I like to talk about. But we got some wild stuff happening out of here. I told you 2025 has been a wild year, but this is a feel good story. Take it with you, share it. Thank you for tuning into Backstreet Hot Takes hosted by thereadersblock.com. If you have not, go ahead, press that subscribe button on the podcast and on the site. Until next time.